When is it smart to pretend to be stupid? There was this Chinese restaurant near where I live. Years and years ago, a guy came in and handed the greeter a note that said, "I have a gun. Give me your money." The woman examined the note and then handed it back to the man, shaking her head. "You want food? What you want to eat?" The man began to quietly explain that he had a gun. "Gum? What gum? We have no gum. You want chicken?" While she was busy with this guy, one of the chefs in the back caught on to what was going on and called the police. Of course, the greeter spoke perfect English. If you know a lot about a topic, and someone is trying to give you poor advice on that topic, and you don't really feel like spending the next 30 minutes trying to make them understand the error of their ways. Finishing up med school, so I know a few things about the human body. Not going to spend my day telling my barista that weed doesn't cure cancer just because he saw a YouTube video that said otherwise. Just nod and agree. Just nod and agree. When your family asks you to fix their computer, the first time you do it, every problem they have down the road is on you. My father had this habit that my mother's constantly reminded me of since he died. No matter how well versed he was on a subject, he always let the other person do the talking first, then would ask them questions. Not only was he able to learn more, but it naturally made him entertain opinions contrary to his own, making him a much more open and humble person. If the person didn't know what they were talking about, the discussion didn't descend into an argument. They'd just slowly realize they're talking to someone much more informed based solely on the questions he was asking, which in turn made them a lot more open to receiving an alternate opinion as well. When the cops show up at a house party, who lives here? I dunno. Who broke this bottle in the street? No idea. Where are the drugs? Drugs? What drugs? Who drives the 2005 Camry out front? Beats me. I feel like it can be useful. If you intentionally lower someone's expectations of you, then you may have more options available to you later. Depending on the situation, of course. Slightly related, isn't there an old proverb that's like, "It's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool than to open it and remove all doubt"? That might be in the Bible actually, along with a favorite of mine. When a fool opens his mouth, he is asking for a beating. I do it all the time. Mouth breathe. 1,000-yard stare. It really cuts down on people wanting me to do things for them. You're really all in. In many negotiations, the ignorant person will come out ahead. Stupid questions take time and can wear an adversary down. I've asked a car salesman, "How much do I save if you take out the sunroof? Because I don't want it." Of course he thought I was an idiot, but the next thing you know, the value of the sunroof is being deducted from the price. On a larger scale, the Russians have historically used this tactic when negotiating things like treaties. They've often pulled the language card. Their interpreters are not understanding what you're saying, and they need every line explained over and over. Stupidity wears people down, and they'll give you what you want just to get rid of you. My ex-wife does this when discussing money issues. It used to really work on me. Now I simply have things written down and don't deviate from that. When I was in college, I got a job at Sam's and they told me I was in electronics because I knew computers. Later my manager chewed me for not zoning everywhere on my side of the store. Pretty soon, I lost all my computer knowledge and became a drooling idiot that just put boxes on shelves. If you get a job in retail, any extra skill you have is just a liability without extra compensation and you get used for it. Best way to go is imagine yourself as a trained gorilla in a work uniform. If you're developing a relationship with someone and they start talking about a subject that you're well versed in, just let them explain it. Ask questions and it'll naturally make your relationship progress. When talking to people who like to argue for the sake of it, no matter how well versed your views are, they will find some stupid ways to crap on them. Just shut up, pretend you don't know anything and take the wind out of their sails. This happens on Reddit a lot. Usually they twist your post to mean something else to try to put you on the defensive. Fortunately those people are usually downvoted into oblivion. Nearly always, I've come to find if you act like you don't know, most people will tell you what they know. If you do this long enough, you should acquire all the world's info. Seriously though, play dumb until you can't anymore, and if you're ever called on it, I usually just keep playing dumb and say something like, "Well, I wasn't sure if that was actually right or not. Now we know." The ability to camouflage and not being perceived as a threat is a wonderful benefit. OFC smart Ppl will realize anything IT related unless that's your job. I was the unofficial IT for my department until a woman brought in her laptop from home and left it on my desk to fix. I told her that was very inappropriate and that I can't take the liability of fixing her home computer. She slammed my door and cursed me out, and it was the only time I've ever yelled at a coworker. You will never slam a door on me again. Get the frick back to your office and sit down, old woman. You will never curse at me again, and by God you had better start acting your age at work, or at least ACT mine. Me, a then 27-year-old reading the riot act to a 55-year-old woman. Our boss apologized on her behalf, but the woman didn't get reprimanded at all, and eventually I left for another project. Now I pretend to be stupid, but magically the printer and scanner and shared files and secure file transfers always work for me, so they're catching on. Now you just need to break your computer systems for a week. This will not only remove any suspicion of technical ability, but you could lounge around for a week complaining about how your stuff is broken. In eastern Ukraine, a friend and I got stopped by some thug on the street who was threatening us and implying that he was going to take our money. We pretended not to know Russian. It ended up going fine. So I guess in that moment it was smart to pretend to be stupid. Similar thing happened to me on the streets of DC. Some guys came up to me and asked for my money and cell phone, but I'd just gotten out of a loud concert so I couldn't hear them at first. I just nodded and laughed and kept walking. They followed for a minute, but then I got to an area with more people and they melted away. When you're trying to catch someone in a lie, when you know all the details, but you just want to see them weave a tapestry of bulls. That's the best part, their tapestry will never end up making sense. It will become so bullshitty that it overlaps on itself and crumbles. In a deposition, the less you say, the better. Also, I don't know and I don't remember are perfectly acceptable answers. I always tell my clients to always answer a question, if at all possible, with just yes, no, I don't know, or I don't recall. When you find a co-worker's mistake at work, if you tell them it's wrong, many people automatically get defensive. If you say you don't understand why they did something the way they did, they can find the mistake themselves. Also, if there is no mistake, it won't blow up in your face. Presumably when you are arguing with a person who doesn't know much about the subject, but just tries to look clever, pretend to be stupid and ask them questions, from simpler to more difficult ones, and they will eventually show their lack of knowledge, which you can exploit. That's what I heard works. At least some ancient Greek philosopher used this, I think. However, I'm too stupid to use it myself. Guy in high school used to do this, and it may prove you right, but it makes you look like a huge butthole. When you happen upon a hostage situation, if you pretend to be mentally challenged, it's possible you'll be able to catch the dude off guard. Oopsie poopsie. When you regularly find yourself in situations where you have to interact with stupid people for long stretches of time. I interact with uneducated blue-collar men in their 50s and 60s every day. Being too smart around them is a surefire way to marginalize yourself. Well, look who thinks they're better than us with his big 4-syllable word. As a woman, I completely pretend I know nothing about technology or money when a salesman comes to the door. Sadly, my husband takes care of that and is out of town for a month as an easier way to get rid of them than I don't want it. I get that you want to get rid of them, but for your own safety, you should not tell some random stranger that your husband is out of town for a month. When you encounter a know-it-all neckbeard type of person, it is often more entertaining to play dumb and listen to their wealth of knowledge. Even if you know they're full of crap, it isn't worth starting an argument or hurting feelings, most of the time. Basic training. Drill instructor. Anyone got a driver's license? Hands raise. Perfect. You, and you. Clean the shitters. If you hear anyone have got no, like it's a trap, be as stupid as possible and keep your mouth shut. When appearing too smart would trigger and offend people you don't want to trigger or offend, it can be a friend or a cop pulling you over. Cops are always smarter than you even when they aren't. Maybe not stupid, but ignorant. When my mom or fiancé shows me some video or asks me about something I have seen already read about, it's usually better to just play along. Some would say when you want to not be chosen for something, but I generally find that just means you'll get a more menial task. It's often good to not advertise smarts, but to pretend to be stupid is another occasion. Best case I can think of is when you're busted doing something you know is wrong but you'd rather get nailed for being ignorant of the rules than willfully breaking them. When starting a new job, it varies from job to job, but generally speaking, it takes time to learn the ropes. As soon as you act like you know what's going on, people will stop helping you and begin to expect more out of you. When I was younger, my tendency was to dive in headfirst with a gung-ho attitude. Oh, let me do it. I can handle it. I'm a bit more reserved these days. Unless I know that I can knock it out of the park, I don't step up. I'm a recent graduate with a science degree and I'm applying for lots of jobs. I have my professional CV for career jobs, and then I have my slightly crappier, shorter CV for applying to dead-end jobs. My logic is that a company doesn't want to employ a recent science graduate in a customer service role if they know the employee will jump ship as soon as a career opportunity comes along, so I dumb myself down. If you pretend to be an idiot ignorant, you can sometimes change the direction of the situation. Example, guy tells you to give him your money. Say sure, take out wallet, hand him a few dollars and tell him God bless and walk away. When going through TSA in an airport, I'm autistic, though obviously functioning high enough to be on Reddit and fly in an aircraft by myself, but airports in general make the autism a lot worse and render me nonverbal, so I have to type everything on a phone and show it to people. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I've been just waved through the TSA line without anything and then given a direct ride to my gate or anything like that. I guess it's not completely pretending because it's true to a point, but typing out I have autism, please be patient on a phone and sticking an TSA agent's face seems to translate to I'm retarded and no possible threat. Let me pass without any security measures. Literally all the time, showing any capability at anything other than what is required of you is a great way to be exploited. I shamelessly played dumb as a white girl who found myself in a redneck bar when the locals started getting rowdy and saying stupid crap. I gfo as quickly, gracefully, and as low-key as I could before I outed myself as having a brain. When salespeople come to the door or phone you, oh, I'm so sorry, my husband deals with all of this kind of thing. I don't understand, it's all so confusing. Don't even have a husband. Whenever traveling overseas and you get in trouble, as an American, I often played the I'm an ignorant American. I didn't know I needed a ticket to ride the train. I got out of so many fines this way. Don't judge me. I was in school and have very little money. When you get caught doing something you're not supposed to, it's easier to say sorry I didn't know than I knew it was wrong, but I did it anyway. I act stupid by default. No point in showing your cards, right? People expect less of you, aren't intimidated by you and therefore can feel more open with you. At a poker table, I sat down, being the only female in the room, pretended not to know a few things. It was the digital poker, where you play and bet against others, but the dealer is just the computer. Asked how do I see my cards, you had to cup your hands over them on the table, and had trouble setting up the login. Everyone saw me as an easy prey, made $550 that day. Usually, smart people are almost universally detested. If you really are smart, you don't want to let the other monkeys catch wind of it until you have an escape plan. When a child tells you all about something you already know, be engaged, show them that you're listening, encourage them when they falter. Plus, sometimes it's just refreshing to see things in a child's eyes. If you can't make time then and there, always be willing to revisit. Of course, I'm sure most of you know this. I don't know why, but I have a feeling Reddit would be full of great parents, or people. You guys and gals are alright. Basically anytime someone is having IT problems at work, and you aren't the IT guy but you know a lot about computers, don't do that fatus's job for him. When anything remotely NSW comes up in conversation, especially if it's something unusual, like kinky. That could lead to judgment if you seem too knowledgeable about it. Act like you know nothing for the sake of your dignity. When you work an office job and are competent with electronics, once that gets out, the company gets a free part-time IT employee. When you're locked in a room with 5 other people and the last one alive that solves a puzzle gets to go free, you want everyone to want you to be the last one they have to go up against to live. My Filipino grandparents used to go to Costco a lot. They wanted to buy this huge pack of bottled juices and the brand was called 25C. When they got to the register it rang up for like $20 and my grandma was all like, "What? But it says 25 cents. They tried for a long time to explain that she's reading the brand name and not the price, but she kept insisting in a sweet, little old foreign lady way that it says 25 cents. Eventually they gave up and sold it to her for 25 cents XD. It's hilarious because English is spoken commonly in the Philippines and they've lived in the US for 30 plus years. She spoke perfect English. Usually if you're doing a job that you feel comfortable with and really don't want to move on. I did that at a function hall, just get out of dealing with stuff I didn't want in the first place. When you're trying to teach someone who is resistant. Okay, I see this question is just like one we had earlier. Which one was that? I can't remember. Did we decide it was X or Y? Really? Huh. How did you arrive at that? If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.